To get a Frenchman to jump off a bridge, you should tell him that it is for love. To get a German to jump off a bridge, you tell him that it's his duty. But how do you get a Serbian to jump off a bridge? You tell him it is forbidden. Here I have some Japanese bicycle parts, and see what this label says. Do not disassemble. This is Shimano Hollowtech II bottom bracket, and it's toast. It's completely toast. It turns very roughly, and it's like a violin while you ride, so it's way past its prime, and Shimano says do not disassemble it. However, I paid what Shimano asked for this part, and I think that it is fair, since they didn't pay me, to do what I think that I should. And my idea is to try to disassemble this and see if I can replace the bearing, because everything else is okay. It's just the bearing that's toast, and I'm curious to see what will happen. I have not tried this before in practice on any bicycle or any way, so this is a bit of an experiment to satisfy my own curiosity. I'm not sure if it will be successful, but I'll put a fail in the video's title and the thumbnail if it turns out to not be successful. So we'll give it a go. The first thing to do is to pry out these plastic covers. They are pushed against the cranks when you put them on these bottom brackets, and so that's the first thing that we will try to remove. And for that, I am not sure if the bearing puller is the right tool, but I will, since it is plastic, but I will first give it a go with a screwdriver and try to be as gentle as possible. I'm trying to get it in. No, it's not working very well. So let's give it a go with the puller and see how we fare. If it will be destroyed or not. So we need something to cover 24 millimeters diameter. Let me get a measurement tool. Okay, so let's see, this should be about 24 millimeters. Okay, so this is the tool for that, and let's see if we can get it. I already made videos about how this bearing puller is used, so I will not get into too much details, but if you are interested, if I don't forget when I upload this, I'll make a video about that pop up in your top right hand corner so that you can see. So here we have it set up, and I'll try to use just my hands. No, not working. Okay, as expected. So we will need to be creative and to use some kinetic energy. I also have a video about physics, kinetic energy and similar. Okay, so it's completely out from the first go, and it's not destroyed. So this looks promising. Let me check. Is it not destroyed? No, it is destroyed. As you can see, it's broken. It's broken. It was catching on to this bearing, and now I've completely ruined it. Okay, so the bearing puller is not the right tool for the job. Let's see about using a screwdriver. No, this is too flimsy, and it's getting damaged in a similar matter, in a similar way, but okay, this one looks a bit less damaged. Let's compare them. Okay, we will see if these will be useful when we put this back together. Okay, so that's out of the way. Let's remove this tool. We will not be needing it, or we will be needing it for the bearings. But first I want to see about this seal on the outside. I'm curious to see if it is a part of the bearing or no. This looks like something that Shimano put on top, and here you can see the part where it sits. Let's take one of these that I had already disassembled. Let's check it out. No, I'm not sure. We'll see when we take the bearing out what it's all about. So let's put something. Okay, so we have these parts and we have this, and the metal part, sorry, try to clean it. The metal part goes to the inside towards the bearings, and this part that has like a groove, if you can see it, it goes on the outside. Okay, so that's we may be reusing this or maybe not. We'll see about that. So this is the bearing. The outer side is pressed against the shell, and the inside moves, though very roughly. And you can now clean and lubricate this. Use some degreaser to clean it, and then rinse it and wait for it to dry, and put some grease in it, and then put this back. But these bearings were ridden for too long in a very bad condition, so I'm not optimistic about the result of such an operation. So we will try to remove them and see if we can replace them. And what this does, when it's in place, it just sits there. It does nothing practically, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure if it has any function to turn, but I think this inner race does all the work, with this pressed against it and turning in unison. And it has a bit of an risen edge towards the inside to catch on the inside of the bearing. Here, as you can see, there's a bit of room here, and that's where this gets caught so that it stays in place. Okay, so that's for the bearing. The same is for the other side, so the same principle as far as I can tell. And let's try to pull this out. This should be 25 millimeters. Yes, it's 24.99, so it's nominal 25 millimeters on the inside. So this one reduces it to 24 millimeters that fit Shimano Hollowtech II cranks. So that's about it. Not the most precise measurement the way I did it, but that should be it. Okay, so let's try to pull this out. So we can use this again. Okay, it's nicely seated as far as I can tell. All right, let's give it a whack or two. Checking if it's moving. Okay, we will have to use some magic. All right. I'm trying to align it so that the vise keeps the outer edge in place, and I can just work this out. And so this is far from the way to do it. It's better to do it when it's on the bike. This is a very bad hack, so don't do as I do as I say. Okay, so we've got some parts out. I'm not sure where this came from. We'll see. Okay. Let's put this back for now. We may need it for the other one. And let's see, where did this piece of rubber come from? Okay, I know. It's from my desk. Additional parts. Okay, so the bearing is out. And here it is. So that was not a good way to take out the bearing. I should have used something to keep it perpendicular and to keep it firmly in place and pull it out. So should have done it on a bicycle. So here is the bearing, it's out, and this is the cup that holds it in place. And so the important things now to do with bearings is to measure the inner diameter. So this is probably 25 millimeters nominal size, okay. Then to measure the outer diameter, and that is in this case 37 millimeters. So we have 25 by 37. And finally to measure the thickness. This is 6 millimeters. Now we'll come to a problem. Shimano used 6 millimeter thick bearings. Bearings that are 25 on the inside, 37 on the outside, and 7 millimeter thick are very easy to find. These are those bearings. They are very easy and very cheap and simple to come by, even in my country. But the ones that are 6 millimeters thick are next to impossible to buy. You can probably source some from China and hope for a good quality. And you can also order some custom orders, and then they cost more than the whole set of Shimano bottom bracket with cups and everything. So I'm not sure if that was done deliberately to prevent you from making this simple and not have to pay for more Shimano parts, but that's what it does in effect. You can have problems finding the proper sized bearings. And so Shimano road hubs are about 1 millimeter thicker. This is 11.3 millimeters from the part that touches the frame to the outside. So they are about 1 millimeter thicker compared to their mountain bike. Let's see where it's written, mountain bike MTB or something, mountains here. This is their mountain bike Hollowtech II cup. This is about 1 millimeter narrower, thinner, whatever. So I cannot believe that there was not enough room here to place a bearing that is 1 millimeter thicker. There is some room here, as you can see, on the inside from this section to here. So there is some material. This is aluminum. It's pretty soft, but I think it might have been safe to machine it a bit deeper so that you can place a thicker bearing. But I'm not sure. A good mechanical engineer would probably be able to calculate this, and of course making this out of steel would give you about 20 grams more of weight, which is unforgivable in the world of cycling. So it's better to have stuff that's less durable and more expensive. But let's see what happens if I try to install these 7 millimeter bearings. I am curious. I've never done this before, and I would like to see the results and how it would all align and fit. And at this moment I don't have a bicycle frame to try these bearings in practice, so after I do this I will have to make a follow-up video But first I want to see if it looks as if it might work, or if it looks all wrong right away. And so I will try to install a bearing here. Before I install the bearing, this one has seals which are symmetrical on both sides, and some bearings have seals that protect from dirt better only on one side. It's usually red colored, and you usually put that to the outside, and of course follow the instructions and double check, but generally not all the bearings have the same quality of seals on both sides. And so here I'm putting some mounting paste on the cup, and I'll also put some mounting paste on the outside of this bearing, and just to be sure, and hopefully it will nicely slide in here. It also helps to sometimes to cool the bearing a bit in a freezer, but I don't think it will be necessary in this case. Just trying to get it aligned as best as I can before trying to press it in. Okay, this looks acceptable. Now let's give it a try with some. So I need 25 by 37. Okay, this is the right tool for the job. It should go in, and I also expect it to go in smoothly. It should be just slightly smaller diameter than the cup. Yes, it goes in smoothly. That's important. But in this case, this bearing will probably be protruding a bit out, so that's not critical. So we want the proper bearing press. And on the other side, let's see about something big. This looks to be about right. And now let us try to get this installed. Okay, so trying to keep it parallel, it's not looking bad. Okay, let's give it a go. It's going in very nicely, very smoothly, and I will feel when it bottoms out. Okay, this is about right. All right, let's loosen it a bit and see what we did here. Okay, so this is how this one sits, the 7mm bearing, and let's compare it to the other one. So we have 1mm less of space here. That's evident. This is the one we are talking about from these hubs. Let's put these away to not confuse me. Okay, so let's take this out and compare it. Okay, so yes, I'm not sure if you can see, but there is a room about 1mm, and here it's almost flush. We could even try to measure that, so let's try to measure that, how deep it is. What does it say? .69. Okay, let's see about this one. .62. Okay, so about 1mm less, as expected. So the first thing that I'm curious about is whether this will fit. If I try to press it in, okay, it seems to be fitting. All right, and now let's try to put this on the bearing that we've installed, that is a bit wider. Let's see how that looks like. First on a bearing that's outside of a hub, of a cup. Let's try to press one in without breaking it, hopefully. it's not going very easily. Okay, please cooperate, don't make my life hard. Okay, so we are having a bit of a problem here, but okay, it went in, and you can see the lower lip is not protruding further out from the bearing, but it is held on firmly. Okay, so will that be enough for the crank to slide inside and it rhymes? Yeah, hopefully. The only way to really test it is to give it to install it on a bicycle and give it a go. And unfortunately, that will not be so simple to do today. Let's try to get this out if I manage. It's pretty stubborn. Okay. Okay. So it's out. Try to clean it. Okay. There it is, and I'll just try to press it in. This is plastic and it should slide in relatively easily. Okay, and so now let's see. This feels very smooth and it looks to be okay, but again, the only way to truly know is to try to install some cranks and see how this fares with cranks. So let's try to do the other one, and then I will try to find the bicycle to install these and see how they fare. So that's the first part of the procedure is successful, but we still don't know if the patient will survive. I'll give this a go on my bicycle on the first chance I get, and I will put it in the video's comment if it is successful or not after a few rides at least, and then follow up after a year or so, hopefully. So for now, as far as I can tell, it looks promising, and I'm yet to confirm about the durability. As far as I'm experienced, the Shimano Hollowtech II bottom brackets are not nearly as durable as their square taper brackets are when it comes to the bearing life. And so pretty quickly you get some creaking, scratching when the dirt enters, and so you can pry off these plastic parts and clean them and lubricate them. That helps if you do it right away. But even with that, they don't last nearly as much. They last about 1/3 of the lifetime of those square taper bottom brackets, because there the bearings are a bit better hidden inside the frame. Sorry about that. So the bearing life is not as good as with those square taper bottom brackets, where the bearings are more out of the way inside the frame and not sitting on the outside as they are with Hollowtech II bearings. And so these are not super expensive, but they are not free, and it's a lot cheaper to just replace bearings, and that's why I was very curious to see if replacing the bearings will work. And there was a time in my city where none of these were available to buy. It happens quite often in Serbia, and so that was another reason why I thought it was a good idea to give this experiment a go. And again, I'm sorry that I cannot say right away, oh, this is going to work. I wanted to record the procedure, and I will make a follow-up comments and maybe a video after I've done I've put them to the test to see about durability, because that is the only real test. Even if I were able to use a computer simulation to see about the load distribution and how this affects the affects everything which is beyond my levels of skills and expertise. By the way, even if I were able to do that, the real final test is when you put it on your bike and put it on some rough trails and give it a go after ideally 1 year or more. So for now, I can only say that this looks promising. I cannot say that you should do this at home. I cannot say that it's worth your time and effort. I can only say that for me, it looks promising and I will give it a go on my bicycle, and then we will see what happens. So that's it for today. A bit of an unfinished video. Sorry to say. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was at least a little bit entertaining, if nothing else. And I will see you in some other video. Thank you again for watching, and cheers. Stay cool. Hi. This video will... in this video I'm not sure if it will be unfinished, because I did manage to do what I was planning to do, but it takes a few months at least of testing to confirm if it is a good solution. The reason why I bothered is because Shimano Hollowtech II bottom brackets are what I would consider to be the least bad in practice of all the available alternatives, but their biggest downside is their durability compared to square taper bottom brackets, for example, where the bearings are a bit inside the frame, not on the outside. So that is their downside, and I was curious to see if their bearings can be replaced, the cartridge bearings, so that you don't have to buy the whole set of cups and bearings and then just go and buy standard relatively cheap bearings and make this last longer. And so for now I still don't have the right answer, but I think that I have the right procedure on how to do it with the bearings that I could find available. So that was the video, and I will make follow-up in the video's comments after a while, after having tested these, to see how they perform in real life. But apart from the durability of the bearings, which is not very good, the Hollowtech II bottom brackets do let you set the bearing preload, adjust it relatively simply and easily, and they also don't have, if you don't buy some super light, super weak cranks with a weak axle, they don't have in and of themselves a risk of having some failures that are critical, so that your cranks break and you get your foot lost and then lose balance and go in traffic or something. So they are a lot simpler compared to square taper to inspect regularly, open, clean, and check if they are spinning smoothly. So those are their advantages, and their disadvantage is the low bearing durability. And when the bearings do get seized, then they wear out the axle very quickly, and so you should inspect these on a regular basis. I would say once a month is probably, if you ride a lot, a good idea to be on the safe side. And so the manufacturers still have not designed a bottom bracket that is really inherently safe, and that when you neglect it, the only downside is that you have a bearing that turns poorly. There are all the systems, as far as I know, existing, have some downsides that can cause critical failures. Only with these ones it's simpler to more regularly inspect and check for those. They are very easily disassembled and reassembled again, unlike square taper, for example, that requires a bit of force and extra tools and so on. So that's some explanation of why one more reason why I bothered to test this in the first place. And I am already skeptical because one of these two is not spinning very smoothly, and so I'm not sure that I should even go with the experiment, but I am a curious monkey, so I will give it a try. I'm not sure what affects how successful the whole procedure ends up, and how well you can preserve these plastic things. And I've got my concerns, and I'm also curious to test them without these plastics to see how that works. In that case, I would get the same chain line exactly, because I'm removing 1 millimeter effectively with these. So, but this on the inside needs to be snug to fit the axle, so it will probably not work without at least this part. And when I remove this seal, it spins smoothly, and this seal is not really important because I've used the bearing with the seal. So I will see how it fits on a bicycle when I mount it, and see how it fares in practice. So, but that is all I have for you today, and thank you very much again for watching, and I will see you in some other video. Cheers and stay cool.